Hello everybody and welcome back to our tutorial. My name is Chidiebere. This is a continuation of our flexible ride taxi application for ride sharing. And in our last tutorial, we looked at how to enable geolocation API in our Google Cloud.developer.google.api. I don't know the full URL, but you can check out the other video. So in today's tutorial, we will be looking at how to implement the API call directly into our application. So for this tutorial, I will not be showing an emulator because my emulator is not showing my current location. It's not able to get my current location. So I'm going to run it on my physical device and print the physical address, which it will get on the console. So we looked at geocoding and reverse geocoding, and these are the definitions here. But for what we want to do, we want to use reverse geocoding to show our users their human readable addresses. We can't be showing them longitude and latitude because it won't make sense to them. So this is what the request and response for geocoding. This is the request for it, and this is the kind of response you get, which includes these latitude and longitude. And what we are going to do is reverse geocoding. This is what we will be doing. So for this, we'll use this API to make a call, and it will return something like this, and we'll use it directly in our application. Here, the latitude and longitude are passed, and our API key as well. So the API key was gotten in the previous section of our tutorial, and that's what we will be using. So for this particular disk, let's quickly go back to our application here. I'm going to start it up so that by the time we are ready, we can just restart and we don't have to wait for a long time for it to run. So for this, go ahead and create a new directory, and we are going to call it assistance. Go to new directory, we call it assistance, and then we are going to add a new file which we will call request assistant. This will be handling our URL calls. So it will add the extension .dat. So for this particular request assistant, please go ahead and get your HTTP package, and this is it here. We need HTTP for us to make a call over the internet. Go to installing, copy this, copy it, and I already have it in my pubspec.yaml file, so no need. So put it here in your pubspec.yaml file and click on pub get for you to get this package. So once you have this, you can go ahead to import it in here. Import HTTP this, then you add as HTTP. So for this, we go ahead and create our class and call it request assistant. And we go ahead and do our static future dynamic, and we call it get requests. And what are we passing to it? We are going to pass a string, and that will be URL. So we do async. It's an asynchronous call, so we have to wait for it to return a value. So we make that request http dot response, and whatever response we are getting, we are storing in here, and we say await http dot get. Then we say URI dot. Before now, you can pass string directly, but with the latest update on the package, you can't pass string directly. You have to make it URI dot pass, so it understands you are trying to pass a URI or a URL. So this is it here. So this URL will be passed to whoever that is making this call. We pick this URL and we are adding it here. So for this, we want to put this inside a try catch so that any error that occurs, we will be able to handle it. So we do catch and we do E and then this. So for this try, which we have here, we are going to add a condition that if the response, which is the response we get here, dot status code equal to 200, then we should get the response. We are going to define a string. We call it JSON data. Let me make it take uppercase, and we put the response, the body of the response in here. Then we want to get a decoded version of this response. So we define this decoded data equals to JSON decode. So this is a conversion which we add this dat.convert here. If you have a error here, just make sure you have this convert. You add this import here. So what is the source? The source is this JSON data here, which is our response from this. So we add this here and we simply do what? Return this decode decode data. So we are going to return this to whoever that makes this call. But if the response is not 200, that means it failed. So we are going to return let's return failed here. So we are using this simple this because we are going to make use of this string. So we don't want to make it a long string and fall into typographical error stuff. So we keep it as simple as possible. Return failed. So this is our request handler. It will handle any API call in and out and return a response, the body of the API in encoding it, decoding the JSON response and passing it to whoever that's making the call, or it will return failed, the string failed. So the next thing we want to do is to add an assistant method that will query, that will get that will handle the request part of it. So we call it, what do we call it? Let's call it assistant method. Okay, let's call it method because we are going to put a lot of method within it. So where is it? Assistant. Oh, I created a directory instead of a file. Sorry, let's delete this, please. It should be a .dat file. Assistant methods. So it's going to should be a file. Sorry about that. So for this, we'll just go ahead and define our class, and we call it assistant methods because we are using methods because it's going to contain other method in it. So we do our static future okay, we know what we are expecting here, which is a string, so we put string. We call it search coordinates. Okay, let's call it coordinate address. So what are we passing to it? We are passing position to it, and we do context, the context that we'll be calling it. So it will be an asynchronous call, and for this, what we want to do, we want to get the response which is being passed. So first of all, we want to define where we want to hold the address that will be returned. So we call it place address, and then put this. And we want to get the URI for the API. So the URL or the URI, whichever one you call it. So we go back to our geo. This is reverse geocoding request and response. So this is what we are making use of, not geocoding, reverse geocoding. So I've copied this and I come here and I put it in here. So here, so this is it here. But if we do this, it will not work. Reason being that, okay, this is where it ended. Uh, okay, if we do this, this will not work. Reason being that there's no API key attached to it. So we have to pass our position, latitude, longitude, and our API key. These are the three things which we need to pass. So for this, let's bring this down here so that we will be able to see. So this static latitude here, we are going to replace it with whatever that is passed in our position. So put a $sign, query bracelet, and add position dot latitude, and take away this one here. There's a comma here. Make sure you don't remove the comma. So you put this query bracelet and position dot longitude. So for our API key, we remember we added our API key to our map.config, and it's not embedded within any class, so it's available to within our application, anywhere in our application. So we are going to call this string map key, and for this now, your API key, we just call what? Map key. So we are ready to go. So with this now, we can now say, we can now start working to get our response, var response, and we are going to await requests assistant, which is this, We're going to make the call to this dot what? Get request. And what are we passing to it? URL. It's expecting a URL here. So we'll pass this URL to it to get something like this, which will now decode and get what we need. So for this, with this, we'll now say place address equal to response. Now we want to get a particular, this is what we want to get. We want to get the formatted address that has been formatted here. This is the formatted address. It gives you the overall address, the state, the country, the address, and the number of the street. So this is what we want to get. So this is how our result is. We will point to this, and the first index here is index 0. Of course, it's going to return only one address. You'll only have one address for each particular latitude and longitude. So this particular guy here, we are going to call this result index of 0, which is the first index, and we are going to call formatted address. So we'll do this, and we do results. I hope it's results. Sometimes typography. Okay, results index 0. Then this is formatted address. Okay, with this, we put our index, which is 0. Then I better copy this. So I don't run into trouble. So this, I paste this here, formatted address. So we've gotten this address from our response.body, which was returned, and added it to this place. Now, when I did this earlier on, we want to print it in our console here. Want to print it in our console here. So assistant method. Okay, let's print a very long string. We call it K, so we can be able to easily spot our address when we print it. So for this, we print it first, then we can now print something like this is your address. So we can easily spot our place address. I spent almost 5 minutes looking for it when I was preparing for this tutorial. So another thing which we can do here is do what? This static method assistant is an sorry, this static method assistant here. We are going to sorry, this is where it is. So we are not returning anything for now, but in future we are going to just return place address to whoever that we make a call. So for now, we are going to comment it out and just print to our console. So we've done this and we've done this and we want to get our physical location. So I need to hide my physical location so you don't see my address in full. So I'm going to expand this and use this to, I hope it will cover it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to refresh this on my device, on my physical device, which is Journey M12. Is currently running. It's currently running. So you will see my address printed out on the console here. So currently I'm trying to log in on my physical device, and once it's the login starts, you will be able to see it. Oh, okay. So this is it here running, and it's currently running. So we want to print our physical address. We go to map here. We want to print it when we refresh this. So we say uh, assistant method dot, what do we want to call? What do we want to call? We want to call our assistant method dot search coordinates. So for this, we put this dot copy search coordinates. Then we have this over here. Okay, let's import our assistant method here. Import assistant slash assistant method dot that. Okay, so over here you can see it's now showing. So remember, when we get our current physical location, which we get by this, we assign it to current location, which is a variable here. So we can now assign that current location to this place by saying current position, comma, context. Okay, this should be it. So with this, if I refresh this guy, what will happen there is that it's going to get my physical address. It's going to get my physical address somewhere. Okay, I can see my physical address somewhere here. Okay, this is it here. So I added this KKKKK. All these are multiple K, so I can easily spot my address whenever it's printed. So this is my address somewhere here, and it's showing Lagos, Nigeria, and it's even showing the postal code for my address here. So this is it here. It's printing it. It printed the number and every other thing that needs to be done. So this is my physical address. When you have something like this, when you have something like this, okay, I've given my address. Okay, when you have something like this and you want to pass it to maybe something like your living home address or anything, then you make a call to this endpoint here. You have a variable that will make a call to this endpoint here by saying something like once the camera or whatever loads, you can have a variable called you can have it as a string address one. Let's put it address one, and you don't want to call this before it gets the current position. So after it has gotten it, we can now assign address one equal to uh, assistant method dot search coordinates, and we can pass position, it's still correct, or we can pass this reflex to it. So let's pass current position to it, just like you see, current position. So it's showing error because this is a string, and the return type which we did before is supposed to be, it's not returning anything. So let's remove this and it will return string, and this guy should be gone now. Okay, let's see, a string. Okay, so it will assign what this address which we are getting here, it will assign it to this address one. Then you can now use this particular guy anywhere as a test. Maybe you add it here, address one, by doing this address one. So whatever that is gotten up there will appear here. So that's all for today. In our next tutorial, we are going to be looking at how to implement search drop off, as well as some other cool features which we will be adding to our project, which is Reflex application. Don't forget, if you need the URL, this is the URL to the documentation, to this documentation here. You can pause the video and copy the URL. And also don't forget to add your HTTP package here, HTTP package. And what we also did, the two files we added are request assistant and assistant method. Here we only print and displayed on console because my emulator can't pinpoint, can't get current location. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that, or how to connect my device to my laptop. So you can see my real device showing, being cast on my laptop here. I'm still trying to do that. Once I'm able to do that, I will be showing it directly here. So in our next tutorial, we'll be looking at searching drop-off location and some other cool features. If you know how I can be able to cast my real device on here, please leave a comment in the comment section of this video. Bye. See you in the next tutorial.